Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
You know, earlier in the week, something that you said, Sam, something you told us about that I wanted to, it's something that's been on my mind a little bit, was that you had discovered that your dad had been keeping secrets from your mom.
Yeah.
In the house. He had been hiding and stacking and stashing cookbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sam's dad passed away 2009?
2009, 16 years ago.
Right.
Actually, this week.
Oh, wow.
Hey, thanks for bringing it up.
Hey,
Just kidding.
I
brought it up.
But there's always a little bit more, and I wanted to go here. You had said that your mom just realized that there were a bunch of cookbooks in a closet, like behind a bunch of stuff. I'm envisioning behind a wall because Murphy said, what were they behind the wall?
Hidden behind the rafters, sealed behind sheetrock.
But it was something that he collected, and he probably ran out of space in the kitchen.
He did cookbooks like we read books.
Sure.
To him, he would get a cookbook. He would look forward to a certain book. He would buy all his books, like we get books.
Read recipes.
And he would be on one book, and that's what he would stick with for a while. Just
Oh,
reading
really?
He would read all the recipes.
Oh, wow.
And
hobby.
He might cook something from them. Most of the time he didn't. He just read them. I don't know if it was for ideas or just that's what he did.
If you sit around reading cookbooks, you know how to cook things. You could go in a kitchen blindfolded and do stuff.
Now he would mark the pages. And
Was he a recipe clipper though? Also,
Yes.
From magazines and newspapers.
Oh God! Yes.
What did he store those in?
He had a file cabinet.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
It was just a 2-drawer file cabinet, but his weekly, he was retired, so his thing was he'd get the newspaper.
Okay.
And he'd get Food and Wine and Gourmet. He subscribed to all of those. If there was a recipe he liked, he would cut it out and put it on a piece of paper.
Wow.
And he'd go down to Kinko's and make a copy. And so he'd have a good copy. And he might make a couple copies and put them in his file cabinet. And then if Jodi would say, I sure would I wish I had a recipe for shepherd's pie.
He'd have it.
So it was
and I
organized.
actually have an extra copy for you. Here you go.
Wow.
That's cool.
Okay.
I did not know it went to
I didn't know he
those
was that
lengths.
organized with it
Oh,
either.
yeah. He'd do every now and then if we'd be talking about something, I'd get a recipe in the mail because he had that one stashed away.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, see, this is a completely different.
Then he passes away and you got to get rid of all that stuff.
Did you keep any of his recipes?
Well, yeah. Remember, I brought the whole big old stack. I kept a lot of the ones that I remembered, I liked, and that were in his handwriting.
Perfect. The best. Those are the best. And then I have some
Yeah.
of his books. Although over time I have gotten rid of I only keep the ones that actually really matter to me that I cook from or whatever. I've tried to minimize that too.
And also, too,
in my life.
My mom used to always blame it on my dad. And it probably was him. I would get cookbooks for birthday, Christmas,
Sure.
And it was like, I buy the cookbooks that I wanted, but, I got this.
That's
and
a
I
good
like
gift,
it. Yeah.
right.
So I wound up having shelves of cookbooks that over the years I have pared down because I literally don't open these books. I open them up to see what it's about, and then it goes on the shelf, and I wind up never using them.
Look, a gift is always a suggestion. I've always said that. It's true. And they enjoyed those, reading them. They're good coffee table books and useful. So to them, it's a good gift. For you, after a while, you were like, okay, stop. Yeah. But I bring it up not because of the cookbook thing. I find that beautiful, actually. He obviously loved it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Good for him. And yes, there's a lot of cookbooks that your mom is still dealing with. But the reason I bring it up was because Murphy was surprised when we had this discussion earlier this week in the show that your mom just discovered it. Because,
it's like you just said he passed away 16 years ago.
So, but you also
why now?
said that his stuff she must be just now digging into his closets. It seems like a really long time. And guess what? It is a long time. That is a long time to have someone's stuff in their closet still. But I really don't think, maybe a mental health professional, I don't think there's a wrong way to do that.
Oh, of
it should
course
be
not.
in her time.
Well, if you remember when my mom passed away and my dad was still alive, it was about, almost 3 years before he let my sister go through the clothing. But, he didn't want any of that messed with for a little while. And I do think that's it's a healthy coping, right?
I think it's part of the grieving process. Yeah. Someone's things is all you have left of them. You have memories and love, but those things, it would be for some people really disrespectful to do away with those things right away. And
did you ask your mom, by the way?
No, and with y'all talking about it, I've never asked her why. I don't know if it's
those are his things in her mind.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's procrastination or that's still her hanging on to him.
Yeah,
or I don't need the room, so what's the rush? I really don't know the reason.
Sure.
I'm going to ask her this weekend.
She may not
Murphy
even.
wants to know why. Well, no, honestly, I would love to know if you haven't touched any of it, why?
Yeah.
Correct.
And maybe she'll tell you it's with a bunch of other things in that closet. Who knows?
Yeah.
I would be curious to know, not to pry, but, just
I'm curious
curiosity.
To know
right.
What her thought process is. There's no wrong way to do it,
Correct.
honestly. I will say I have been, I guess it's a weird thing. I've been around a lot of death in my life. I've buried family members since I was a child, and I've most often, 99.9% of the time, there is a period of time where the stuff is not touched.
Yeah.
Out of respect, or maybe just out of the human condition of you're not ready to part with it, because to part with it is to move on where maybe you're not ready to move on. To part with it is to accept it. Grieving is, there's no timetable, there's no playbook of how to do it. So I was just thinking about that. It's a long time, yes. And I wonder if it's a long time for Miss Jodi. I wonder if that has anything to do with her not wanting to move on from that stuff.
So this reminds me of my grandmother, Heidi. And so my grandfather passed away in 1979. They were married for 40-ish something, maybe they were married right at 40 years. So he passed away young. I consider it young. He was 67 when he died. She was 65. Well, she lived another 32 years.
Correct.
She lived to be 97 years old. And I actually vividly remember, because she didn't want us touching anything for the longest time as kids, And then I think it was probably 10 to 12 years, somewhere in that window, that she decided it was time to donate his clothes.
Good for her.
And clean out, the closet and make that room hers. It took her a good 10 years to do it.
It's a long time.
So I'm guessing that was, cathartic. And I do remember her talking about that. But it took her a minute to get there to realize, okay, she just wanted now, her life. She preserved his footlocker from World War II and little things like that she kept. But all of his clothes and all of those things, she wound up cleaning up.
See, like my mom, I don't know if she's tried to do that. I don't know if she's opened the closet and gone, all right, and then just seen it, and it's like, oh, I remember when he wore that shirt, and I remember that, and it might have
it's
been
pain.
Forget that for now.
She's going to have to experience some pain to do it. That's one of the things. I don't know if you know this story, Murphy, but when my father died, he and my mom were divorcing.
Okay.
And so my dad had moved on and was dating a woman, and I had met her once, maybe twice, and they were spending a lot of time together. And then he died very young. And a couple of years after that, and I was a very distraught teenager because of this, losing him.
Sure.
And a couple of years later, a year later after he died, not more than 2 years, I got a letter in the mail from someone I didn't know. And it was his girlfriend. I'll never forget. Her name was Eileen.
Oh, really?
And she mailed it to me, and it was handwritten, and it was, "Dear Jodi, I'm finally ready to let go of these beautiful things." She had his guitar. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
And I have his guitar to this day.
Yes.
The letter came with, "I enjoyed my time with him so much. I know how much he meant to you. I want you to know this is my address. Let's make arrangements. I want you to have this. I'm finally ready to let go of these things." I think there was a couple of other things she had, maybe like a shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
And I, being a teenager, I wanted to keep the shirt, but it had been with her for so long. I thought, no, I'm not keeping that. But I did keep the guitar. Obviously, I went and picked it up from her, and I remember it being a big deal. That a hard thing for me to do, but I really wanted it.
Wow,
And
I
so-
didn't know that she was the one that had that guitar. That's the one our youngest daughter Phoebe learned to play guitar on.
Right. It's one of the only things I have that belonged to my dad.
Wow.
That and his cowboy hat.
Well, I was going to say the cowboy hat's the only other thing I
Yes.
remember.
I thought you had a jacket of his too.
A blue jean jacket.
I don't have that anymore. I
No.
don't have that jacket anymore. I don't know why. But anyway, I remember that letter, and as a kid reading that going, I'm finally ready to let go of these things. I remember thinking, okay, this is a moment for her. She was in love with him. I think they were, they had a love affair. A short one, but still. So there's no wrong way to do it, but at some point you realize within you that you're ready to let go of things. And the truth of the matter is your mom may not be ready, or maybe it's I don't want to do this, or who knows.
Yeah, and she can certainly choose whatever she wants because she's how old?
85.
85 years old.
Correct.
Yeah, she's 86.
Well, she'll be 86 this year.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's the nice thing about getting to be that age is you can pretty much do whatever you want. Nobody should be telling you what's the right way or the wrong way to handle things.
Yeah, and it's also I'll just let Sammy and Brett take care of this. They can clean it out.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jody podcast.